Oh, what's up? It's Rumi. So I wanted to do a quick tutorial on building a marketplace for hiring, also kind of like a job board. You might have seen some kind of specific niche job boards out there like Remote OK, or some of the others that are super specific. But basically, a little bit of backstory is I started a site called Studio Time, which is like an Airbnb for music studios, and was looking for job boards for the music industry in specific and couldn't actually find one. So that's when I thought, why not just use some kind of no-code tools such as Instapage and like Airtable and build one for myself and then kind of post my own job for studio time on there. So the result is actually what you see right here. So this is Music Hire. It's kind of like what I called it. So the URL is actually live. It's musichire.io. So as you can see, I'll just kind of run through it really quick, but it's basically taglines like the easiest way to find jobs in the music industry. And then you can see the Studio Time logo right here, and then some of the actual kind of live job postings. So this is the one that actually Studio Time marketing lead role. It's actually the one that I had posted on AngelList, which then kind of like led to the whole idea of building this job board. But anyway, so I built this entire job board or like hiring marketplace, I guess you could call it, without code in about 30 minutes using Instapage and Airtable. So that's what I want to do this kind of brief tutorial on, because I know I've actually seen a lot of people asking about this on Twitter and in some other kind of maker communities like MakerPad and Indie Hackers. And I actually didn't really know how to build one myself until I just kind of like jumped into it and started building this. So this brief tutorial is going to kind of walk you through it. Once again, I'll link to the tools, links below for Instapage, Airtable, and then also link to the actual product you can see here live. So that way you can kind of check it out, click around and kind of test it and everything. But anyways, here's the live product once again, and we're just going to jump into it really quickly. So this is going to kind of be like in two parts or kind of like two steps. The first is going to be building the landing page using Instapage, and the other is going to be configuring the Airtable, which you can actually see it embedded right here. So this is the actual component that has all the actual jobs that are posted by users or kind of created by the admin and kind of added on here by me. So those are the two main tools. There's actually a third tool for payments, but we'll get to that kind of towards the end because that's not actually essential to this initial build. All right, so let's jump into it. So as I mentioned, the first kind of tool that's used, it's a no-code tool to build these landing pages. When I say landing pages, there are actually two landing pages, and that's pretty much all that there is to this entire kind of product. So we have the musichire.io and then the musichire.io/post job, which is basically just like the same homepage. It's just pretty much like duplicate the page right here. You see the same kind of layout. And then instead of having an actual table view embedded from Instapage, you just have a table kind of form entry. So that way people can upload their actual entry to the Airtable here. So this is just like another embed. And then when they do and they submit it, then once again, that kind of goes to like the main page, which is right here. So those are the two pages that were built using Instapage. So we're going to go over here to actual Instapage. So I'm already signed into my Instapage account. You can see right here, this is a single page that I just kind of clicked on. And this is the actual kind of page edit state. So I just jumped ahead to the edit state so that way it wouldn't be slow to load. And you could just kind of get right to everything that you need to see. And so that way you can see how to kind of build this yourself and, customize it for your own needs. But basically it's a single Instapage is like a great kind of like visual kind of landing page creation tool and kind of builder or editor, so to speak. I'll link down below with like an affiliate link. So if you do sign up, just use that link because it kind of helps me out to make these videos. But basically the whole kind of like, I would say configuration of this page is a kind of single page. I actually just created like blocks. So as I kind of like highlight these different sections, for instance, it's like top nav, you can actually see that up here is like its own block, right? So this is just basically like text. So if I kind of like move this around, you'll see this is actual text. I just kind of like added basically like a headline here. So over here on the left, this is a kind of like basic kind of configurations and controls of Instapage. If you've already used Instapage, you already like know how to do this and add these kind of headlines and stuff. But if not, it's super simple. You can click on like add a headline here. And then for instance, you could like type there. So you could say like find music jobs, which is actually one of the labels up there. We could like size it down to the same font. You would see it there. make it bold. I think it's actually like 18 right here. Yeah, so we're pretty much kind of like matching that up, you see right there. And then actually just like hyperlink to the other page. So for instance, just link to the other landing page. And I just kind of like choose my other page down here, which is like the actually down below the section. But you kind of get the gist of it. So it's just kind of like using URL linking on plain text here. So that's actually how the top nav's kind of laid out. The logo is actually just an image that I created using Snappa. So I believe this is like League Spartan, just like a font type here for the logo Music Hire. Fairly straightforward. A lot of the logos I make for my other kind of products like Studio Time and some of the other kind of stuff are all just pretty much like plain text in that League Spartan. So up here, once again, the top nav is essentially just like text that's added that uses URL linking. This button up here was made over here. You just click on like add a button. And so I just kind of like, basically you would overlay that there, but I'll just drop it down here so I can show you how you actually edit it. So on the edit, I would just like change the color. I use black for it, and then the hover also. So you can see right there, I would change it to post a job. All kind of like basics. I'm basically just kind of like recreating certain elements so you can see how it's done very quickly. But once you get the hang of Instapage, this is all easily doable, literally like in minutes, kind of on the fly. So anyways, and here's the button. We would change the font, but basically for that click, for post a job, I would then click on over here for the URL to go to a landing page. So as I kind of go down, I have a bunch of different pages, but it'd basically be like that Music Hire add a job page, which is the name of the other single landing page. You could do it like open a new window, but since this is like the same product, it doesn't really make sense to. If there's a link to another site or another kind of external link, of course you would do like new tab. I like to do tracks, that way you can see kind of analytics on who clicks up there on the top right. So anyways, that would be the button up here once again. Over in here, basically how I created this was I just created another Insta block, added it in here. So for instance, here's some of my like saved blocks that I have. It's pretty slow to load on Instapage in, but let's see if it hurries up. If it doesn't, I'll just kind of recreate it really quickly. Yeah, so it might take some time to load my saved blocks here. But basically, it's a blank block. I simply added like plain text here. Just kind of formatted it all in bold. Used like left align, so I aligned it right here to the kind of the width of the page. Dropped in another button over here. This button kind of for find jobs just goes down to this section, since that's where the actual kind of content, which is all the jobs, are added. So that was below, so we're good on that. This is another section right below it. So I wanted to just add some logos to kind of introduce some credibility. So these are all logos of some of the companies for the jobs that are displayed right here. So I thought that'd be good so people can see it right here. It's like, okay, great, like pretty intuitive. Easiest way to find jobs in the music industry. All these logos kind of like lend some credibility. And then down here is the main section where it gets to the actual kind of product and how it kind of like actually looks and works as a product. So this block right here is just like a blank block. So there's like no background or anything, as you can see. This music jobs is just another kind of like plain text. This full time, so this isn't actually a tag or anything. It's actually a button that I added, and then I just like for a click event, just actually doesn't have a click event, and then it doesn't have any kind of like interaction as far as a hover effect or anything. And then you can see on the edit of it, so it's the same color for button and hover, so that way it doesn't have any kind of interaction. And then so I just like put it right here because it looks kind of cool. It like calls out like visually as like full-time jobs. And then his last posted an hour ago is just like static text. So it really isn't accurate or anything. It just kind of like looks cool right there and kind of adds something to the actual page. So this is its own kind of block right here. I'm going to get to the actual configuration of the Airtable, but basically how you would add an Airtable embed view in Instapage is you would go down here over to the left, and instead of adding like a video, a box, or any other kind of element, you actually add just like HTML, right? So you can see this is a box right here, and then you'd be able to like paste it right here. So for instance, we're just going to go to this, right? So here's the actual code. So in that element, but here's like it pasted right here, so you could see how that would work. You could do like full size content, so that way it's like full size for whatever this kind of like frame that you have for it right here. Of course, I just kind of like stretched it so that way it's almost kind of to the full width. And then of course, to make sure like vertically that it kind of goes down. So that way it would kind of actually display a lot of jobs kind of like pre-populated or stacked up in that kind of card view. And you wouldn't have to like scroll within the embed because that's obviously like not like a really good kind of user experience. So with that kind of the full vertical, I did change the default right here on the vertical. I just kind of knew since I built like a lot of different like Airtable embeds. I think the default's like 553 or something. I kind of changed it to like 944, so that way it's a little bit taller. So we'll just kind of delete that. But this entire kind of section is that embed for the Airtable. So we'll go back to the home page, right, and kind of run through it so that way you can see it live and then kind of see on the editor kind of creation side how that actually is created, right? So over here is like the full embed, and then as you can see, it's a little bit taller than other kind of typical Airtable embeds. So it's like the 944 kind of height that goes down. It does have a small kind of scroll here. So if there were a bunch more jobs, it would have like a scroll within the embed. So that's a kind of weird interaction if people are like auto scrolling on the page and then get that like embed scroll. So that's just pretty much why I made it the vertical orientation a little bit taller. You can see over here, so I have another kind of like space and then another Airtable. So we'll actually see how that looks right here, right? So this, actually need to kind of change this alignment right there because it was kind of off a little bit. But this is another kind of block. So I basically went up here when I had this, and then I clicked on duplicate, and then I dropped that down here. And then when that it said music jobs, I just kind of added the word intern, add this button for internships, changed that to last posted 3 hours ago so it looked a little bit more realistic. And then I actually embedded the different HTML for another Airtable so that way it would display a different view. So you can see this is a whole different Airtable right here. So these are not the same Airtable, and I'll get to Airtable and how it's configured in a little bit. But this will just give you an idea of how this actual kind of these jobs are displayed on the landing page. So it's fairly straightforward, as you see. So right below that, I had a little space. I had a block for a newsletter. So newsletter is fairly straightforward. You just add a block, and then this actual kind of newsletter, this enter email and subscribe, is over here is a, let's see up here. It is actually a form. So somewhere over here, let's see. Yeah, so here we go. It's a form, so you'd insert that kind of element. Yeah, and then so from here, I actually just removed the name kind of field, and then I changed it to like a horizontal kind of layout, and then changed the formatting. So adding a newsletter is like super straightforward because you can literally just kind of add this element wherever you want on the page on whatever section. But you can see right there, that's why I added it here. Just kind of like changed up the of course, like the layout from vertical to horizontal, so it kind of like matched the look and feel. And this is kind of like its own kind of like little module section. Footer, same thing, fairly straightforward. Basically just like literally went over here, click duplicate the block, change the background, change the kind of elements in it, and just added plain text. And then these are actually just hyperlinks to different URLs for this actual footer kind of navigation. So the homepage is extremely basic. It is basically just like a static kind of landing page. All the buttons, all the functionality, any kind of clicks, anything is basically a URL link or an embed kind of an Airtable base, and you can just see like the embed kind of display right here. So on the live homepage, all the functionality here, so you see like find jobs, that was like highlighting that click on that button and doing like an on page kind of link to this section below. Then you can kind of go up, you see that like find jobs, once again that goes down. Subscribe to newsletter, that scrolls all the way down here to the newsletter sign up. And then post a job simply links to the other kind of static landing page that I actually duplicate from the home page. So this is a fairly straightforward build. So I'm just gonna go back. Let's just kind of leave this. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to load this. It's actually gonna kick me out. Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna log back in a second, or maybe I'll just stop it and kind of start it back. But let's get to the Airtable part, because that's kind of like what matters as far as what actually displays on the home page right here, right? So to do that, basically what I did was I created a base kind of Airtable. So I have two different ones. So once again, on the home page, we have full-time jobs right here. And then this is a Airtable base, embed, and kind of display. And then we have intern jobs, right? So I have two different bases right here because those are two different actual tables. So we'll click on the full-time right here just so you can kind of see it. So here's the different fields, and this is actually how it looks in the Airtable. So we have a field right here for job title. That's a text. the image is actually just, I titled it company logo, and that's just like upload a actual image or a file. We have the company name, we have location. So location is a, so if you click on customize, you can see it's a multi-select. So it should probably actually be a single select because I'm assuming most jobs aren't going to be in multiple cities. They could be. But I went down and just clicked on add an option to create options for all the popular cities. We should actually kind of alphabetize this to make it easier. So let's just go ahead and do that if we can. All right, there we go. So I'm going to save that. So it's alphabetical order on the selection. And then the role right here, same thing. These are just kind of tags right here, multi-select for whatever is appropriate. Brief job descriptions. This is like a long text entry right here. So it's not like a single line text. I have a date pick right here for the date posted. So I think that's going to be like super helpful to see on the display when the job was posted. And then the last thing is an application link. So wherever someone can actually apply to that job, then the job poster can simply drop in a link there. So as you can see here from the Airtable base, there's only like 10 right now. I actually haven't launched this or anything. I just spent like 30 minutes, maybe an hour at most, building it yesterday and just kind of kicking around the idea, taking it to a live product without code using these tools. So there's not really much on there right now. Hopefully that'll change. I'm not sure if I'm going to launch this or anything anytime soon, but you can see, so how I actually display that on the Instapage is to then click on the view. You can see this right here. Here's the embed code. So Airtable automatically generates this. So we'll wait for the page to load. So you can see, we don't go through this too fast. So here's the table, right? So here's a desktop embed view, here's a mobile view. So I was looking at this and I actually thought that this kind of like mobile card view would actually look better on desktop if possible. So that actually is possible. So you just click over on this toggle and that regenerates the code for the layout. And then you'll see the kind of preview right here. So yeah, so there you go. So that's actually what it looks like on the homepage, right? For musichire.io. So the way to populate that on Instapage, you go over here. So we just control C and then actually Command C. And then in the actual Instapage, we just kind of paste that, right? So that way, then it displays right here as the actual kind of embed Airtable view. So there's a lot of cool different things from the user side. So for instance, you can filter this. So by different job titles, location, all that. So instead of having like a site kind of built filter, sorts, kind of displays and all that, we actually just have an embed display, and all these controls actually then kind of, you can think of like almost like manipulate the actual Airtable. And this is just from like the actual embed kind of display control right here. So it's super straightforward. So cool. So you can see how this is right here. The intern jobs are actually their own kind of Airtable base. So that is not this. So we'll go back to our Airtable, to our main account. Here's our other base. So to create this base, I actually just clicked on duplicate the base for the full-time jobs and then edited the title, edited some of the fields. And then here, as you can see, like basically this is the same kind of Airtable. I just wanted to make it different because they're different actual jobs, and I didn't want to like make them all together in one table and one view. So you can't really split embed displays and stuff in like two different sections with two different kind of like code snippets. So I just created these two different bases because I knew that would be an easy way to do it. So I went and did the same thing. I just clicked on like this, kind of click on the embed. That then kind of like generated this code, and then I dropped that in on the module on the home page. And then that is the actual kind of, then as you can see right here, this is the embed display. So this Instapage is basically a bunch of static text, images, kind of blocks, embeds of Airtables, and then kind of all together a little bit, I like to think tastefully, kind of creates this good, slick looking product, which actually has some kind of basic functionality that users can use. So you might be thinking, how do people actually add jobs to this, or how do I add jobs? So if I want to add jobs directly, I can simply add that myself. So for instance, I just click on like up here and I put like test job. And then as you can actually see, let's go back to the home page. You should actually see it update. It might actually not update here real time unless I save it and add the actual entry. So that's probably why. But I could add things on my end, so I could edit that kind of table. I'm actually just going to delete this so I don't kind of mess up the display. So I'm going to delete these records. All right, cool. So now we're back to the actual kind of like end table that we had on the homepage. But I could edit the actual entries here, or what I created, as I mentioned, was actually basically duplicate the homepage and then made a URL for like post a job, and then just edited the text so that way it's this is very kind of intuitive on, hey, I'm someone that wants to post a job. Here's how I do that, right? And then so you could click on get started. That kind of goes down. You see the same kind of basic layout. So it's just kind of like hero section with like a kind of value prop. Just kind of like this like subtext kind of explains it. This get started links down to this kind of on page display. And then right here is an actual Airtable form entry embed. So I'm going to show you really quickly how I did that. So for instance, let's go back to our full-time hiring table. So here we are on the full-time kind of music hire table as soon as it loads. And over here, we're on the grid view. So what I did is I added a view. So if you clicked on form, I already did it, but here's the form, right? So this is basic. So as you can see, like I don't have any like cover images, no logos or anything. It's pretty much all the basic limited functionality because I'm actually on a free plan, which is pretty wild to think you can have all this functionality on a free Airtable plan. So I have this all right here. So all these fields are populated based off of how I configured the Airtable base. But I did kind of add these like two sections above. So like your name. So I wanted to capture the name and the company email of whoever is entering their job. And since we don't have any like user accounts on this kind of like product, this is pretty much the only place that I'm going to do that, right? So I added this kind of hint text, this title, this hint text here on like how to post a job. And then here's the name, here's the email. Added that kind of like parentheses for like helper text and then made it required. So this is kind of like capturing leads. So for instance, if someone at a company, say for instance, someone at Warner Music said their name and their email and they started entering the job and didn't get completed or didn't all the way go through with it and didn't pay, then I would simply have a name and an email and I could reach out to them and then make sure that they kind of didn't need any help adding it or whatnot, and then could potentially add more jobs. So here's all the different fields right here. So I didn't really do any kind of configuration. You could kind of change the layout. But to embed that, I clicked on the share form. I grab over here on the embed code. And then in the same fashion, how I did the homepage, I just kind of copied. So Command C, so copied this with the actual code. Let's wait for it to load so you can see the preview. Yeah, so there's a preview on desktop. There's the same thing on mobile. And so I grabbed this and added it to that home page on Instapage. So yeah, so Instapage is not, I need to log in really quick. So let's just log in. Kind of kicked me out. So I'm gonna go back in here. This is a little bit slow to load too. Just have to like bear with me over here on the screen share. So I'm gonna go to, here's back on our home page. All right, so we're gonna click over here on the other, have this in like a folder because I have a few different projects on my account. So you're gonna click on post a job. So this is the other single landing page. So you can see the two different pages for Instapage for those single landing pages. So I'm gonna click on edit just really quickly. I did pretty much just like walk you through just verbally on how I built that targeted landing page, but I do just want to show you the actual kind of edit state on that on Instapage, so that way you can just actually have a visual and see how it's done. So we'll wait for this to load. It's a little bit slow. So while that does load, we'll just reference the live site really quickly once again. So in short, this is like a kind of like an Indeed, kind of like remote OK style, like hiring kind of marketplace, like job board. Uses two different pages that are in essence like static landing pages that have Airtable embeds. And this is using Instapage, so like no code, and then Airtable, which of course Airtable is no code, but the end result is actual usable kind of product and one that could probably actually generate revenue. And I'll show you, I did briefly mention the kind of payments button and how we collect payments on the actual live site here. But if we're loaded, we'll just kind of go back to the edit state. So as you can see, this is a similar kind of layout, this kind of like top nav, this hero section, the value prop, this kind of call to action button that actually links to an on-page section, which is here. Here's this kind of like plain text area right below the logos. So I actually just like duplicate that logo as a block and copied it over here. this HTML is just kind of like hanging out right here. It's kind of weird how it's actually just like placed here, and then it's kind of actually spaced right here. But this is actually a HTML kind of block for a Stripe checkout button. So this is pretty interesting. I might do a whole nother video on this, on how you can actually just use like an HTML kind of code and have a Stripe checkout button that's actually fully functional and integrates with your Stripe account and has like a portal on the consumer side, right? So this doesn't require a account for the user, and we're going to click on it so you can see how that works. But when you click on this, it's a little bit slow to load too. Has this kind of like loading wheel. Then it pops out. I edited the music hire job posting, has my email contact information, and then it goes to the payment information. And if you've used that credit card online, it actually sends you an SMS, and you can do like a cardless kind of checkout using Stripe, I think is what you call it. But in short, this is all being validated using Stripe. Over here on the bottom left below the control, you can see this kind of like Stripe, powered by Stripe overlay. This is a pretty slick, like incredibly lightweight way to test kind of payments and see if people will pay to use your product. So once again, this is on Instapage. I literally just right here, you can see the code for it. So here's a kind of a script. It's using commentspayments.com, which is I'm actually not sure who kind of runs that service or whatnot, but you can generate these kind of like Stripe checkout buttons and kind of integrate within your own Stripe account. So this is like super slick on the user side. I'm not sure on the actual kind of like tech code side, like how well built it is, because I haven't run that many payments through it. But the whole kind of like philosophy behind this is that I wanted to embed the Airtable form to allow people to upload jobs, but I wanted to put the button here and put the price there to see if people would actually pay, because thinking that, hey, maybe I need to pay first, then I see this instructions and I can add my job. Now, in reality, people could simply bypass that and add their job. But if they do, the good thing is then I kind of have a job, I have the contact, and it's kind of like it's like a super warm lead, because then I can just email them and say, hey, by the way, I don't know if you saw the button or if you saw the payment kind of checkout, but we do charge $99 per job. You could email them, have a dialogue, see if they're willing to pay, if they're not, then make a decision on do you want to enforce the payment, or do you want to just simply allow them to kind of bypass that and have a live job, since it is kind of like pre-launch and there's not many people on here right now. But eventually I do want it to be paid, and we'll kind of expand out on the functionality of this payment. But for now, this is a kind of super lightweight way to add a payment kind of checkout right here for people to pay to use their credit card for posting a job on this kind of simple like job board or kind of like hiring marketplace I created. So in short, we'll just go down. You can see like the HTML, kind of like simply paste the code in here for the form kind of embed. Same thing with the newsletter, and then I kind of link back to the homepage here. But in short, this is probably like one of the most kind of like lightweight, quick kind of products I've ever built that could have some revenue potential. So we'll see if it does. I haven't, like as I said, I haven't launched it yet. Simply built it because I had a need and didn't see anything out there. So the need was actually hiring for studio time myself. Had some friends at these other kind of companies, knew of some jobs from some kind of buddies, for instance, like at Spotify. So kind of added theirs right here. That kind of like helps, hopefully they see that, hey, I'm building stuff, and it kind of helps them out and make them a part of something cool early. But yeah, I built this basically because I had a need for it. Didn't see a solution out there really exactly what I had in mind. And then, of course, I do run Studio Time. So potentially if I do launch this, I can kind of integrate it within the community of Studio Time. It could just be another kind of like value add for the Studio Time community and potentially another kind of revenue stream. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I know I did kind of like cruise through things pretty quickly, but it is a very, very quick and easy build. So it is using Instapage. If you do sign up for Instapage, use my link. If you do, then I could actually kind of send you some of these templates. So that way you could just kind of import some of these templates and kind of modify it for your needs. You can use Instatable, kind of duplicate some of the bases that are on Instatable that they have in their kind of example gallery. And then if you do want to check out that button, just comment below or just like reach out to me and I can send you a link to that and kind of show you how you can actually add that kind of payment credit card checkout to your kind of Instapage or Airtable or whatnot. But anyway, subscribe if you like this video. Definitely keeps me motivated to keep making more of these tutorials. I do a lot of other videos on building startups, running startups, and even some on angel investing. So subscribe if you do want to learn more about that. Comment below if you have any questions about this. I'm Yerumi at Twitter. And once again, I'll also put more in the video description or kind of details. And I'll also put links to some of these tools. They are affiliate links, so I do get some credit for that, which is great. Because it actually just kind of like keeps me motivated and helps me make all these videos because I don't sell courses or anything. So just kind of give away all this content for free because I find it interesting myself and think that a lot of other people will too. Just kind of like building their own products and some that could generate revenue and turn into companies. So until next video, see ya.